Are you a boomer somewhere between ages of 55 and 76 and thinking about downsizing? Let me tell you the 8 most common mistakes you'll likely make. Hey, I'm Jill Heydrich, and before I get started with the 8 typical mistakes that we see boomers make, there are a couple of things I want you to think about first. You need to be thinking about where you're going to go when you downsize. Is this going to be kind of a local downsizing move? Or are you going to be moving out of state to some place like where I live in South Carolina, where it's warm and sunny with all 4 seasons, but without the snow? You need to be thinking about where you're going to go because that's going to change how you approach this. And the second thing you need to think about is you need to know how much space you're going to need to live in to be happy and comfortable. These are 2 key things to think about. And now I'm going to give you the 8 mistakes that boomers typically make. The first mistake that boomers make is waiting too long to make a decision. Look, it's never an easy decision to decide to move from point A to point B, but it's even more difficult as you get older. When we get older, sometimes we have health issues, and sometimes we don't want to deal with stress. So it's really hard to make that decision, and oftentimes we wait too long. The best time to make the decision to downsize for us was probably 5 to 10 years ago. The second best time to make that decision is right now. The sooner you go ahead and make a commitment to that decision and start to get that plan, the better off you're going to be. The second mistake that people make is that they guesstimate what their current property is worth. It's been a really big real estate boom in the last couple of years. Real estate has its normal ebbs and flows, but oftentimes people, they get in their heads the amount of money that they think their house is worth. They look at what their neighbor sold their house for 6 months ago, a year ago, and they think that's what their house is worth too. Sometimes that's not the case. So it's really important as you think about downsizing to figure out what your current property is worth. Of course, there's a lot of ways that you can do that. You can go on Zillow as an option. But the more exact you can get with that number, the closer you'll have a true idea of how much equity you really have in your home. Your best bet is to contact your local realtor, someone like me, who can prepare a comparative market analysis. Knowing how much equity you have to work with when you're finally ready to move is a really important piece of information. So again, the second mistake is not really knowing what your home is worth. The third mistake that boomers make is not having thought out what to do with all the stuff they have in their house. Most of us have 30, 40 years worth of stuff laying around the house or in storage somewhere. We haven't really decided what to purge and how we're even going to get rid of all of it. We really need to start to think about how we're going to unload all of this stuff. Are we going to give it to our relatives, to our kids? Are we going to have a big yard sale? Or are we just going to give it to Goodwill or the Salvation Army or some other charity? There's a lot of planning that needs to take place into disposing of all that stuff because you're not one to take it with you when you're downsizing. The fourth mistake that boomers make is we don't think about the potential tax issues. When we go to sell our property, there's sometimes tax ramifications. So look, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, and this may not even be an issue for you, but some people it is. So you really need to give it some thought. Are there going to be any tax issues involved? And should I get some advice regarding those potential issues? The fifth mistake that we often make is because, well, we're boomers. We've bought and sold properties over the years, and we've always focused our attention and our pride on getting a great deal on a property. Look, it doesn't do you a lot of good if you buy a property and get a great deal on it if it doesn't really fit your needs. Let's face the music. You probably don't need a master bedroom on the 2nd floor or a condo on the 2nd or 3rd floor without an elevator. The wisest thing to do is focus on making sure the property you buy fits your lifestyle moving forward. This could very well be the last house that you live in before you go into a nursing home, assisted living, or have to go live with one of your kids. You're still likely to be in the home for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. So even if you'll pay just a little bit today to get what you really need, it's okay. It's still likely to go up in value to be. So you need to focus and make sure that property suits your needs moving forward. Number 6 is underestimating your ongoing expenses. So when you downsize, you may be moving into a condo or a smaller property, somewhere the HOA fees are a little higher than you're used to. Smaller patio home type homes often provide yard maintenance, pressure washing, and roof repairs. Or you can be in a condo where they take care of and maintain all the exterior of the buildings. It's easy to underestimate these costs. Make sure you budget these into your payments, especially if you're paying cash on the property from the sale of your current property. Make sure that you have a reserve fund set aside for any possible future condo assessments. Or if you're downsizing to a regular single family home and it's just smaller, check to make sure you know how old the HVAC system is, how old the roof is, and make sure you don't underestimate the expenses paying for those aging items going forward. Number 7 is when boomers oftentimes do not consider renting when they think about downsizing. I understand. Look, we've owned properties all our lives and we think of renting not even a possibility. Sometimes a lot of sense for you to go ahead and rent a property. You don't have to really worry about repairs. You just pick up the phone and they send someone and they make the repairs and it doesn't cost you anything. So it's a great way to keep your expenses under control. And sometimes it may be a good idea to even rent for the first year that you live somewhere if you've relocated to a different state. Just because you've always owned properties doesn't always mean it's the best fit for you going forward. Renting is just something you should consider when making the downsize move. Mistake number 8 is we don't think through the consequences of owning a pet. Now, it's a given that some condo developments have rules against pets, period. Sometimes you can have a pet up to a certain weight. That's kind of a given. But I think the piece that we forget about is if we've been living in a single family home of residence, we're used to just letting the dog out the door to do its little business. Some of you may even have a doggy door that we don't have to think about it at all. You may not have that luxury anymore. You may have to actually walk your puppy every day to let him do his business. Make that decision now if you're willing to do that several times a day, no matter what the weather is outside. Well, there you have it. The 8 mistakes boomers typically make when they think about downsizing. Thank you for watching, and if you liked this video and you're thinking about moving to the Columbia area where you can get boiled peanuts in a slower paced life at an affordable cost, click on the link below for a free relocation guide. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new today, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that little notification bell to keep you updated when I post videos. Of course, don't forget to hit that like button too. And again, my name is Jill Heidrich and I'm your real estate expert for the Columbia and surrounding Midlands area. I'll see you next week.